This is episode 2 of season 3 with special guest Jen Bugajsky, and we're talking about feminine energy today on Cultivating Guts. Hello, it's Tiffany, and welcome back to Cultivating Guts, a place where we discuss gardening, homesteading, intuition, and just so much about biodynamic gardening and following our intuition. Super excited to be back with you guys. Had so many insightful moments and ideas about really important topics. I reached out to a couple of different people to be guests on the podcast, so that's super exciting. And today we're talking about feminine energy and the power of leadership from the feminine perspective. So we'll dive into that more and more. We are simultaneously video recording. So hello, if you can see me, or we'll be on YouTube and video and Spotify with video. You can also listen on any of your other favorite podcasting platforms, from iTunes to we're on Audible now, Google podcast, Amazon podcast. I should make a list, but it's reached by season 3. We've reached many platforms, and it's super exciting. So grateful to all of you for making that happen. If you are watching us on YouTube, feel free to comment, subscribe, follow along. I will watch for comments on the YouTube channel, and I will respond back if you have any questions or you have comments from this episode. That would be super cool. This episode is something that I think has been a long time coming. I have known Jen for several years. Then the pandemic happened, some other stuff happened, and we kind of lost contact. And then episode 1 of season 3, I put out a call for guests, right? And I was like, if you speak on any of these topics, if you're an expert on these topics, gardening, homesteading, intuition, energy, right? Like this feminineness. And she reached out and she said, I'd love to be on it. I was like, yes, I'm so excited. I'll tell you a little bit about her as well. She is also from the Chicago area. She's very passionate about women empowerment coaching. She'll get into her story when we bring her on here shortly. She's committed to guiding women in rediscovering their inner power, their sensuality, while breaking free from generational patterns that contribute to feminine wounding, or we would call the witch wound, right? So how do you embrace the inside feminine power to break free of that wounding? And recently, we're in January. If you're listening to this later, we're in January of 24. Chiron was just kind of in the astrology, and that's like the wounded warrior. And so this month of January, it's about kind of moving through those with the wounded warrior assisting you and helping you. And so there's this energetic power. So this episode is awesomely perfectly timed. You could call it feminine wounding. You might call it the witch wound. You might call it generational curses. So there's different phrases and descriptors that kind of go along with this idea that you can't be yourself. And I'm super excited to kind of just dive in today. And we're going to be candid. We're going to be raw. It's going to be a conversation. So grab your tea, grab your coffee. It's going to be super packed. Try to see if there's anything else. I'll let Jen introduce herself when we get going and started. But the episode is going to be amazing. Before we get started, I would love for you, though, to subscribe, rate, and review the Cultivating Guts podcast. Send me a screenshot of your review at Tiffany at cultivatingguts.com, and I will send you our free garden planning e-course, and you'll have all the stuff you need there. It's online videos, there's downloadables, there's worksheets that go along with our free garden planning e-course. If you're listening and you have a favorite part or you have a silly part of the video, go ahead and screenshot that. Share it on Instagram at I am Tiffany Hinton. I will repost it. I love reposting. I think I need some coffee as much as I'm stumbling over words this morning. Oh my goodness, we should have an episode with our coffee person because I only drink one kind of coffee. That's a whole nother story for another day. I'll leave that as a teaser. But with that, before we head into the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Cultivating Guts. Have you wished that you could garden but not be overwhelmed, or maybe you don't know where to start and you really just want to learn how to get started? Well, you're in the right place. I'm a certified garden coach and I would love to help you get started, whether it's in your own backyard or on Zoom. I love to teach people how to heal the soil from chemical treatments, traditional lawn care, that has killed the natural biome of the soil, causing the gardens to produce less and enjoy more as you learn how to use biodynamic gardening to regenerate your soil, but also to increase your garden's production. Honestly, it is a passion of mine. I grew up, a child of farmers, people that actually at one point owned a fertilizer company. So I know firsthand what it can do to the soil, how it can create a monoculture. And when you decide to have a backyard garden, all the work that can go into rebuilding the soil in order for you to have a fruitful produce and production, and all the different components. I've spent over 10 years building our suburban homestead and learning along the way. I've been gardening for over 40 years, yes. And it's intuitive, but it's also this huge passion. Cultivating Guts, when you have a garden consult with me and you sign up for garden coaching, we remove the frustration and we make it possible for you to have your dream garden, whether it's raised bed gardens or a poterage, which is, a pot garden, or a kitchen garden, or an herb garden, which is one of my favorites to build, where you can go out and pick medicinal herbs and make teas and tinctures right from your own backyard. It's super easy. We set it all up and you see a garden plan, and then there's an installation day, and it is where it's a partnership. So all along the way, you are learning. The very first step is a 1-hour consultation with me. You get to pick the perfect location for your biodynamic moon garden. Then I work with you to find, to make sure it is the right location. We look at where the sun is throughout the day. We learn about your individual challenges and what are your dreams. Then we design and we create an estimate and a map to get moving with the garden installation. Once this is all approved, we'll schedule an assisted installation day, and I will come out and help you if you are local to the Prospect Heights area, and I'll help you get your garden all set up. It's truly amazing. With that, guys, if you're interested, I would invite you to hop over to www.cultivatingguts.com. Sign up for a garden consultation today. Let's get that booked. I can only do 2 a month. So we do have 2 in February and 2 in January still open. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, this is what I need, hop over to www.cultivatingguts.com and get on my calendar, and we'll get started building and mapping out your dream. All right, welcome back to Cultivating Guts, and super, super excited to be welcoming Jen. And I always say it Bugajsky, but she can correct it for us. And do you want to quickly introduce yourself for us, Jen?
Sure, yes. So my name is Jen Bugajsky, and I am a women's sensuality coach. And basically, one of the things that I do is help women to reconnect with their bodies, their feminine energy and sensuality as a woman, so that they can have like the better relationships they want in their life, not just with their partners, but with their families, their loved ones, their clients, etc. Because I truly believe when we can really tap into and own our sensuality and our feminine energy, it just makes so much of a difference in the world.
Oh, I so agree. So agree. It's an interesting, for me, like I met Jen, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, networking around the Chicago area. And at that point in my life, I was very masculine energy focused. I was very driven. I had all these coaches. It was structured. There was travel. Like it was super, looking back, like super masculine energy. And then the world went into this pandemic. And, a lot of us had different things going on. I had a mild case of depression, but in coming out of that and finding my own path, which many of the podcast listeners know, like through the Kundalini yoga and the gardening and just like embodying more of what some people are now terming grandmother habits, it brought out that feminine energy. And so I'm interested, Jen, because one of the things I did right around the new year is I joined a free challenge with Sabrina Lynn, who does body embodiment practices. And one of the exercises she had us do was kind of just like sitting in our hips and just like letting your body move however it wanted to move, whether it was dance or not dance or it was whatever. How do you find being able to embody that feminine energy? How has that like changed your own life or maybe even some of your clients?
Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned dance because that's one of the key tools that I use, right? So not only am I a ballroom dancer, but it's not the ballroom dancing that does it. It's the actual movement of the body and actually feeling like you have a body. I think that so many we're rushing all the time. It's like um when I think about like even food, people are rushing to go to the drive-through. It's fast food here, fast food there. But like how often do we really enjoy our body? Like even think about taking a shower, right? It's a thing you have to do, but you have to touch your body. But typically we rush through it and don't enjoy it. So I think that embodiment is a way to stop and be present with the physical body. And dance is one of the things that I use on a daily basis because we need to move the energy through the body. Like one of the things that one of my mentors has said years ago is that women heal through the body. We don't heal through the mind. And when you
Absolutely.
can move the energy through you, then you don't have to think it through. You can actually move and heal it through.
Yeah. And we have those different energy centers, right? You have that mind center and then you have like a gut center, but like a lot of us females, even men, but more females, we need to tap into what they call it's like that lower energy center, right? So I would
Mhm.
say it's like the sacral chakra area or the root. And and so I'm interested as well. Do you have practices that you'd be willing to share to help people kind of tap into that lower energy center to help them make better choices?
Sure. Well, it's interesting because I actually teach a modality called chakra dance.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
yeah, it's fabulous, and it's moving your body to the music, but with with every sound in music, there's an intonation with each chakra. So you can actually focus healing and energy in the root chakra or the sacral chakra, kind of a thing. So that's a really powerful tool that I use. I would say just moving your body in general, like I'm gonna say a free form movement,
Hmm.
but um, I think that I've mentioned to you before that I have studied with Mama Gina.
Hmm.
She wrote Pussy a Reclamation, which, if any of the listeners have not read it, it's one of the top books I recommend to people. It's called Pussy a Reclamation because it's really, she wrote it for all the women who will never read it because of the name.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find myself, depending on my audience, saying using the P word, right? But it just depends on who's
Right.
there and where it is they're at in their journey and how comfortable they are with the word. But it just goes to show as women, we're not in tune with our body, especially that lower half, the fact that we don't even know what to call that part of our bodies. And if I think when I started my training, I started with Rachel Jane Groover like 10 years ago and certified in the art of feminine presence. And one of the things that she would say is that most women live in the upper half of their bodies, right? So it's kind of like there's a split.
Yeah.
You can't see me here, but there's a
Yeah.
split. But it's like we live from the heart up, and we don't connect with the root, the sacral, the power centers, which is where all of our grounding and physical body energy is. And since we are spiritual beings living in a physical body. If we're not connected to that part of who we are, it's almost like it's invisible. It's
Mm-hmm.
there, but it's invisible to us. So anything that we can do to connect with that part of the body is extremely powerful. It's like waking up the bottom half of the body.
There's a couple of things that you just said that like in my brain are like, oh my gosh, we got to go back to this. So one is that like if you're not connected to that lower part of your body, not only is it invisible, but you lose so much power, influence, leadership, abundance, strength, like even the ability to be at peace when you just need a moment to just be in stillness is all in that
Yeah,
lower part of the body.
it is. And we as women, we store all of our trauma and emotions in that lower half, like in our womb space,
Yeah,
right? It's like, and when we store it there, we don't know we're doing it, but that's where we store those emotions. And if we don't move them through, they say stuck. So no wonder we sometimes feel blah, right? I like to say to people that like we have to clear out our energy fields just like we have to clean out our toilets,
makes
right?
sense.
So if you go to the toilet and you don't clean it, there's gook at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with our bodies. If we don't move the energy through us, it stays there and it makes us not feel good, or we feel stuck, or we're not
Yeah.
creative, or we're frustrated, or you name it. I mean, all women are feeling all of this pressure, burden, loneliness, you name it. And I personally believe that the secret key ingredient in healing all of that is connecting with that lower half of our body.
I would agree with you. I would so agree with you. Yeah, there's so much, and you've got to be able to kind of move past whatever it is. And so this is the other thing you were talking about is some people don't know what to call those feminine body parts, whether it's the yoni, the pussy, the I don't know, right? Like your coochie, your hoochie, like there's all these words, and and it's society telling us that certain words aren't appropriate even though we may feel comfortable saying them, or internally intuition says, yeah, that's what it is. But society may say, oh, you can't say that in public. So then you come up with something else, or to your point, you end up blocking it and you lose a part of yourself.
I actually believe that so many of us have lost that piece of us. We don't know that we're lost from it because we never knew it was there to begin with. Like a lot of times I will use the word pleasure
Mm-hmm.
and people kind of look at me like I have six heads. But if I really think about life in general, most of us move forward through pain, right? We grow through pain.
Yeah.
However, what I have found with myself, with clients, like just doing this work for the last 10 years, you can grow through pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And what if we focused on growing through pleasure? I don't want to say instead of pain because
Yeah.
it's not like there's never pain, right?
Right.
But if we always just focus on the pain and the suffering, right, that's where we are. But like I have grown so much through the physical acts of pleasure, whether it is dancing in my bedroom, whether it is at a dance competition, type of thing, or being in my body, like going on vacation, doing things that bring you pleasure, fulfillment, satisfaction, and to feel it in the body. Because what I hear a lot of people say a lot of times is, oh, I just want joy in my life, which I agree, joy is amazing. But the opposite of joy is sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite of pain is pleasure. And most of us don't take action until we feel something that's physically painful.
Mm-hmm. It's the same way,
So,
right? People don't change
right,
unless they're sick or they're dying,
right,
and then there's like this drastic thing that they have to
right. If
do.
they
Yeah.
have to. But if you allowed yourself to be in pleasure and let pleasure lead you, it's such an amazing ride because it's fun. It feels good to the body. It's not instant gratification. So I think it gets a bad rap, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost kind of like the word pussy or whatever word you want to use that in society we've been told not to use. Like pleasure is instant gratification, right? You shouldn't want that. You should want something that's long lasting and spiritual and joyful. Well, we
We deserve it
are
all.
in, right. And we're on this human journey to feel. That's the whole reason we are here, to
Yeah.
physically feel what it is to be in a human body. So, why would we only want to experience pain? Why wouldn't we want to dive into the depths and experience pleasure in all sorts of ways? I mean, pleasure does not always just mean orgasm. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it can be, which is
But
amazing.
it could be a
Um,
massage, it could be sensual touch, it could be
correct.
so many things.
Well, you said sensual touch. I think it's important as women, like how touch is actually important to all of us. And I think we all experienced it during COVID, right? When we had to be confined in our homes
Mhm.
and you couldn't give your girlfriend a hug or that type
Right.
of thing. Human beings crave touch. And if we're not getting that touch from somewhere, there is something missing in our body. It's almost kind of like, and you do a lot from a nutrition perspective, right? But if people are not getting the right nutrients in their body from a food perspective, they're not nourishing
Mm-hmm.
their bodies.
Right.
It's the same thing with touch. We need and crave touch. And even like if you just take your hands and literally softly, gently caress them, like this is actually even a practice
Okay.
that people can do, right? This is super simple, but like it's not, oh, let me just go like this.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you can literally give yourself like a mini massage and feel like pressure,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
The
can
pressure points,
light
yeah.
pressure or heavy pressure. You can scratch on your hand. You can do light touch and feel that connection with your own body and energy. And I think we think it's kind of goofy. I'm like, why would I want to do
Mm-hmm.
that? Why do I want to touch myself? Right? But we're with ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the other healing things that I think is for women is even a breast massage. Like, and I don't know how many women, think about doing
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I'll never forget the first time in one of my coaching programs that I was told to do a breast massage. I was like, what? You mean to like touch my own boobs? I'm like, I don't think my boobs have been touched since nursed my children, right? And it's interesting because when I think about nursing, like I enjoyed that part
Mm-hmm.
of motherhood. And I think some of it was because of the connection in that touch.
Yeah.
But then to think, okay, the breasts weren't touched, because my
Yeah.
husband at the time wasn't really into the whole, sexual, component of things. So there wasn't really a lot of that, right? But the first time I actually did a breast massage, I literally had old memories come to
Mm.
the surface. Like I had no idea this was going to happen. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do the practice. And there was healing that came for me physically, giving myself a breast massage. And people might be like, "What? That's so wild." The other thing that I think women don't realize too is when we as moms connect with our own body, in our own energy, it automatically feeds to our children. That energy
Mm-hmm.
shift feeds to our children. And
Absolutely.
what I found, like that actual day I did this whole breast massage thing for myself, there was a challenging situation that was happening with one of my kids. And it was like I shifted my energy and the world shifted energy around him, where the stars aligned and things shifted for him. I don't want to get into the details of
Yeah.
it because it's a long story, right? But it was because of the breast massage
Mm-hmm.
that shifted my energy, that opened a door for his healing,
Mm-hmm.
which is different than me saying, honey, you can't hang out with that kid anymore.
Right.
Or you can't do this anymore because blah, 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 your
Right.
mom,
Right.
kind
They
of a
don't
thing.
always want to
Right.
listen to us. They need their own.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want women to realize that this embracing of their body, this embracing of pleasure, yes, there's a piece of it for pleasure's sake, but there's a piece of it that's for purification and healing.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, it is not just about healing you. It's about healing for your children. It's about
Yeah.
healing for your children's children. It is generational healing and it's healing for the planet.
Yeah.
And that's the power of this work. Now, people might not see it right away and think, Jen, you're kind of in la la land. Okay, that's weird. But I've been doing this for 10 years now. Like, I see it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you saw some of my stories when I came back from my trip to Italy. I claimed that my entire family was up leveling. I just claimed it. And I made some decisions. I ended up needing to buy a new car, and two of my kids that
Hmm.
same month
Got
bought
cars.
new
I saw that.
got
Yeah.
cars, right?
Yeah.
It was like my energy shifted and
Mm-hmm.
it forced that. I don't like using the word force. I'd like to find a better word,
Things
right?
dropped
But
in. So one of my coaches always says that outside our aura are all these things
yeah.
that we've verbally said, but maybe we didn't intentionally say it. We just said it, but it's
Mhm.
hanging out there ready for us, right? Whether you're
Right.
like, I'm going to get a raise or I'm going to get a new job or I'm going to like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm trying to think like something like at one point I was like, it'd be cool to have chickens. Right. And like, it was just like offhanded comment. Well, it's all hanging out there. And then to your point, you kind of clean, you cleanse, you
Right.
change, you release things out of your energy field. And then as you claim stuff or as you up level or as you like raise your frequency, those
Mhm.
things start to come and attach themselves to your aura and they become yours. And it's not hard. Yeah.
No, it's intentional though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't seem, I don't want to say normal. It's not logical.
No, but the world is not built on logic. It's so
Right.
funny
Well,
how much
that's
the
the thing.
science is not
Like,
science.
there's a friend of mine. I don't know if you know Linda Herrick. She's an
I
amazing
don't think so.
energy healer. Yeah. And she used to say, if something is wild, ridiculous, weird,
Mm-hmm.
it's from God. It's from the universe. Right?
Yep.
Like God is not logical,
Yeah.
which is the truth. We try to find meaning and logic behind everything.
But it's
But
not, and you got to let that go. That's that part of that mind where you're just at some point you're like, yeah, I don't live up there anymore. I'm living lower. I'm living in my gut and I'm living in my root.
it's so interesting because sometimes there are no words to describe
Mm-hmm.
what's feeling. Mama Gina would say that words are masculine and the body, the emotion and feelings is feminine. And
Yeah.
sometimes the best way to communicate isn't through words. It's through that energy, that physical connection. Um, and the thing is, you have to be open to feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But so many of us numb ourselves because we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to feel. We don't want to feel the pain. And I think society has also taught us that feeling anger is bad or feeling envy or jealousy or whatever. The
Mhm.
shadow feelings are wrong. I actually, on my podcast, did a series that the seven deadly sins are not really deadly. It was
That's awesome.
fascinating.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, because anger isn't wrong
No.
or sadness isn't wrong. Like, it's okay to feel. We have to move through those emotions. You
Mhm.
can't shove them inside or spiritually bypass. I think a lot of coaches, or at least what I've seen out there, is positive affirmations. Just,
You've
reprogram.
got to do the shadow work, though, to your point.
Correct.
Because if you don't, you're going to break or you're going to end up with a disease. It's just
And
what it is.
yes, and I think what happens is most people end up with some type of physical ailment, some type of
Yeah.
disease, which is dis-ease, right, in the body. If you don't heal the emotional piece, it's going to turn into something physical. I mean, I laugh because people say to me, they're like, "You don't have any physical ailments?" I'm like, "No, I have nothing."
Yeah.
Like,
There's a whole book by Louise Hayes that I eventually broke down and bought, and I had to find the used one. You probably know what I'm talking about, but it's like, oh, I have a headache on my left ear or something weird. And she's like, oh, it's due to this thing that happened in your life that you need to let go of and forgive. Like
yes,
every little ailment she is linked back to something in life. Um, and and I use that now, especially with some of the women that we use in our new moon circle. And sometimes they're like, oh my God, that's exactly what it is. I just didn't put the two together. It
yeah, no, the
is,
name of the book
yeah.
is called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise
Okay,
Hay.
cool. Yes, that's it.
It was actually, when I first started this work, it was the very first book that
Oh,
was recommended to me, ironically, because I was like, what is this? And she had us doing this body figure and where do you have pains? And I'm like, I don't know, like, what is this? But
yeah.
I recommend it to everyone on top of the pussy book, right? But no, this one actually, like, if you have a toothache, right, you can go and look and see what is potentially underneath it. Our
Hmm.
bodies are here to help us grow. Our bodies have the ability to heal, but
Hmm.
we have to pay attention to them and
Yeah.
not ignore them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so powerful. Oh my goodness, this has been amazing. And I would love to just keep talking, but at the same time, I'm watching the time and I know that
Yes,
listeners can't listen to a podcast for 2 hours. So,
sure.
I mean, some could, but most can't. So we try to keep them within our 40 minutes or less. I have one more question for you, Jen. And I love to ask our guests this. How do you cultivate guts in your life every day?
Cultivate guts in my life every day. Hmm. That's a very interesting question. Like, I'm trying to, like, I can go so many different ways with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, can you go the nutrition way or go the um having the strength to, I don't say make the hard choices,
Yeah.
but to I'm gonna go that route because that's easier for me to say. But that cultivating guts every day, it is listening to my body. It is um spending time not looking outside of myself for the answer. And just because I do this work doesn't mean I don't fail sometimes. And doesn't mean that I don't try to go the old patterns and old ways. But it's that constant reminder of listening to that, my gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listening to the body, and people use different terms. You can say listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, listen to your body, your soul. Mama Gina would say listen to your pussy, right? Like, whatever it is. But in my mind, it's connecting with the body and checking in with her
Mm-hmm.
um, when making decisions. I think that fascinating is Mel Robbins has a book out there called The 5 Second Rule, where you make you know your truth in the first 5 seconds of needing to make a decision.
Not overthinking.
And
Yeah.
after 5 seconds, you're in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that same theory of recognizing when I'm making a decision from honoring my truth, right? Or if I'm analyzing and
Mm-hmm.
trying to think about what's the right answer. Because so many of us get into this monkey mind pattern of, okay, what's the right answer? And we spin,
Mm-hmm.
and this is when we falter.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I even did this the other day, right? Like I had a lot of heavy stuff on my heart, but then the way through is getting back into the body. So if I would say cultivating guts, right? It's that remembering to get back into present moment, get back into the body and not think, but feel.
I love it. I love that. That's awesome. Ha. This is okay. So if people want to work with you or they want to reach out, how do they find you?
Yes. So, my business is called The Freedom Keys. I am on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I've got a website that's thefreedomkeys.com. Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, I have a podcast too. So, my podcast is called The Sensual Feminine Life, and I talk about all things love, sex, relationships.
Awesome.
And it's great to have that as a way to listen in. So if somebody's not ready to have a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right, you can listen in. I've got a private Facebook group, or people can just reach out and schedule a one-on-one to learn more as well too. Because I think that the more we can talk about this, the more women will understand the power of our feminine energy and realize um, that's something missing. I think that that's the
Yeah.
something missing that we all have in our life that we don't know how to put our finger on. We all feel it, but we just don't know what to call it. And that's that piece that really cultivating, understanding what that feminine energy is, and then living from that.
Awesome. All right. So we'll put those links in the show notes and so people can click, make it easy for them. I'll also put a link over to your podcast. So I will find that and link that as well. Thank you so much. This has been so amazing. Such a deep conversation. So glad to make this happen.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love getting this message out to so many more women.
It's amazing. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Share with me your favorite part and share with me and Jen, when are you going to try that like self hand massage ritual that she was showing us in the podcast? Ask us any questions. We're here for you. I'm here for you. I'm excited to see your benefits of stepping into the lower part of your body, embodiment, right? Practices. It's amazing. I'm so glad we had this conversation. I know that it might have made some of you uncomfortable, but being uncomfortable is growth. It's life. And I truly, truly believe as a female, even as a man, you've got to be able to embrace that feminine energy. You've got to be able to try a little something different. You got to be able to willing to embrace the hugs, the handshakes, the touch from others appropriately, of course, right? Put some guidelines there, but and the self touch is super important. So it's exciting. Try the dancing, even like shaking your body for 1 solid minute, like right. Being okay with noise, sound vibrations, all of that. It's truly amazing. I'm so grateful Jen was able to be on the podcast, and oh my gosh, I'll put the links below so you guys can get in touch with her and check out the books she mentioned as well. Super, super exciting. Satnam, love you guys. If you love this episode, remember to share it with your friends. Send it to anyone who may love the inspiration and information that we shared. To get my newest ebook, the Biodynamic Moon Gardening Book, visit our website and download it for free at cultivatingguts.com. We also have some live events coming up in February. We've got our kids gardening club up and running for the year. They'll be planting seeds. And then we have our women's new moon circle. I'm going to quickly take a peek at the calendar and see if I can get you a date for when that is in February. It's on the calendar. New Moon Circle, Saturday, February 10th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We do limit that to 10 women, and there are spots already taken. So if you're interested in that, also head over to www.cultivatingguts.com. I am so excited to be able to help you transform this year, transform your gardens, your lives, and to see all the details that you need to get started gardening and to get our gardening masterclass and get anything else that you need to be growing your garden or to sign up for a garden coaching consult, visit the website www.cultivatingguts.com.